Welcome to the Not Good Podcast, presented by Sky High Media, LLC, with your hosts, David Jane and Timothy Worrells. Views and opinions of the Not Good Podcast are not necessarily that of Sky High Media, LLC.
Welcome to this episode of the Not Good Podcast. I'm your host, David Jane, joined by, once again,
Mickey Browse.
And yes. Okay, so Tim, who is on paternity leave, from the podcast at least. I don't know about his pastoral positions, but he has just had his baby, so you can send congratulations to him at 611 Calvary Court, which is in, just kidding, that's not his real address. But well wishes, and you know he preaches at Calvary Baptist Church. I don't know if he said where yet, so I won't say where, but maybe you can do some sleuthing. All right. So today's episode, we talked a little bit about it. I'm not sure the title right now, but actually it might be something along the lines of why people leave church.
Good question.
And I guess specifically, you know, the question is like why younger people leave church.
Yeah.
Because you don't really meet many older people. I didn't mean that like as a derogative or not, or but like you never really know many older people that church hop.
Right.
Like usually
Typically not.
Like it seems like they go somewhere 50 years and
they rarely leave the church like permanently.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like something happens and they leave. Especially when you get past 60, 65. They're in for the long haul.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? As an older person than me.
Part of it is discipleship, I think. And another part of it is they grew up in a time where pretty much American culture, a lot of it revolved around the church. It was their priority. It was a social event. You know, many people in that age bracket, I mean, they met their spouse in the local church. And so there was connection there. They felt like they belonged, ownership. I mean, it was just, you know, it was a much more integral part of their life than it is now. Now, church is not, everything doesn't center around church. It's like church has to center on everything else. And so that's a different mindset for sure.
Kind of reminds me when I was doing some, I guess, study about music. I like set out in last year to like write a book about music ministry. And I mean, it's like a small book, but it would be like halfway done. But it's pretty difficult. I think my goal was like 32,000 words and I have like 16,000. So I'm like halfway there. But trying to get maybe Tim to write some of the other side from a non-musical. He would admit to that. I'm not insulting him, but a non-musical perspective. And maybe just make it about, I don't know. I've only maybe said that to him jokingly one time, but we'll see. Tim, you need something to do while your wife is taking care of that baby. So let's see. So let me preface this survey. A lot of churches in our area, and I'm sure in your area, the pastors talk. They'll meet every now and then.
Right.
And I feel like typically people will go from church to church and then they might think they're just totally separated, but little do they know that the pastor might be really good friends with that pastor.
Right.
But that's
Right.
um, we've done some things with other churches in the area. And so anyway, I got my hand on this survey that was done from a church in the area, and it's a college/young adult survey. They texted 3 different groups of previous students who attended the youth group faithfully. And then, so the 3 groups are this: those who live in the area but attend a different church, those who still attend that church, and those who have moved away. Okay.
Who attend another church even though they moved away? Are they still involved in church?
Yes, they're still involved in church. And there's 3 different categories in response. So the first question is this: I am conducting a survey of college age and young adults who have left blank this church name and gone to other churches or no longer attend church. So they used to go here, now they go somewhere else, or they're not in church at all. I was wondering if you'd be willing to share what it was about the church that led you go elsewhere. Your answers will remain anonymous, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's the first person's response. One of the reasons I left was because I had an opportunity to serve at another church, but that wasn't the only one. At first, I continued to go to the original church after I got out of a Bible college thing that a lot of kids in our area go to. But something changed. I didn't feel as welcomed as I used to. Something happened where we tried to invite others to attend an event, but it was shut down. They said they only wanted the people from the original church to be there. I felt like I was being shut out and not welcomed. The community I used to love and cherish disappeared. It felt like we were being judged.
So, I mean, it's hard to know the background story, but
Yeah.
there's a little bit of it's about me mentality there by
Yeah.
the person being surveyed, and if somebody is looking for a reason to leave a church, I don't care if they're 14 or 50 or whatever, they'll find one.
Yeah.
Churches do change. The dynamic changes, leadership changes, and it does have an effect. I can't imagine any church saying, hey, don't bring anybody to this event, it's just for us. I mean,
Yeah. I feel like I agree with you. I feel like the backstory is needed.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if they're still in church, that's great, but I'm glad of that. But I don't know. I'm not sure that's a church issue as much as it is somebody who needs to think, okay, this is not about me. What have I misread here?
Yeah.
Misunderstood, kind of thing.
All right. So again, this is the category of people who used to go to, say, the church they grew up in that now go elsewhere. And then the second person says, my girlfriend goes to another church in the area and she has been going there for years since middle school. I like it. It's more contemporary and I like the pastor.
Yeah. Well, that's the girlfriend problem. I mean,
blame the girlfriend.
He's not leading. He's not leading the way if he let a girl decide the church. But yeah, probably. But here's what I know: if people genuinely like the church they're in, they won't leave. I mean, a girl kind of thing. I mean, that may be could be a temporary exodus, but if they like it, they don't leave. So you got pastor personality, which you can't do much about that. Contemporary youth tend to like contemporary because of youth camp. We push that on them. Youth camp is contemporary music, and that's what they know. It's different, really. It's where it all started.
Mm-hmm.
Camp is different. It was meant to be different. And so if they had a good camp experience, then if they can find the church, it's going to be like camp. a middle school, high school, or even college age, that's where they're gonna end up there.
So you're saying they don't sing hymns at church camps nowadays?
Not even in my day. Not even in my day did we sing hymns,
Ooh.
but it's like,
We need to watch where we're sending our youth.
yeah, I know. We're going to make liberals out of them for sure if they're not singing hymns. But yeah,
Well, no wonder we've had the president we have the
yeah,
last few years.
yeah, that's right. We youth camp has gone liberal, affecting the whole culture.
All right, so I originally left this church on Sunday mornings when my boyfriend and I started dating in high school because I liked going to another church better. I felt like I got more out of the sermons. I also liked the music better, the environment, and felt it was more welcoming. Oftentimes, it felt like people at my original church were judgy, but I continued going to the youth group because I enjoyed that on Wednesday nights. For me, this other church in my area just has so many ways to serve and get involved, and it just feels like a family to me there, and I feel like I'm growing there. The environment is more ideal to me, and I feel like I can be myself. There was also an incident a while back when we were trying to get a young adult group going. They asked me to help invite people, and we were trying to bring college kids from another church and this church together when I was asked to not invite people from this church. So that was super off-putting to me and isn't a way to grow in community together in Christ. We really have an awesome young adult group here and great people who pour into us and lead us. I also know there are specific people at this other church that I know pray for me every single day, and that's super uplifting and encouraging. Overall, it feels like it's home, and going to church is something I look forward to every week. I think that was a similar person as to that first person where there was a backstory that maybe.
Yeah, but I do know this culturally, it has changed. I've done youth, and it used to be you could have a pizza party, they would just come for that. You could keep them connected, coming with gimmicks and all that. And this is a good change in our younger culture, is that they do want to serve. I know surveys have been done, millennials, I think Zen or Z, or whatever it is now, that they are more about serving and helping other people than older generations. You got your older generation, if they want it, get out there and work for it.
Mhm.
You have another generation who says, well, what if they can't? What if they haven't had the same opportunity? And so they're more into social issues, which is not bad. That's a Jesus thing, probably.
Yeah.
And so youth groups now, they're saying the ones who serve outreach tend to do better by far than those who are gimmick oriented, where it's just like a one-time thing to get you in here and we're going to play games and all that. But they do care about, and I know my own church, the nights where they go and serve typically are just as well attended as the ones where they're having
Yeah.
pizza and ice cream.
And y'all do that like once a month.
Yeah,
They
and
go that.
they do. And so it's a cool thing, and it's definitely been a cultural shift, which is a very positive. I mean, that's a great thing that it's like, hey, we need to be out there doing it. That's what they care about. So a church is not providing opportunity for not just missions trips, but local missions. I mean, they're missing out on a great chance of discipleship, and plus this latest generation, that's what they care about.
Mm-hmm. How long do you think it takes the culture to like settle and like from what it was to who leads it now, that whole missions kind of mindset? How long would you say that's taken? Like the whole time that he's been the youth pastor?
I think it was his mindset. I think he has that mindset. I don't know if it was there before or not. I can't remember, but I know I didn't have it as a youth director. We would, it was like, we got to get them in here. It was numbers based. Let's get a crowd, share the gospel with them, hope they get saved. And it was effective,
Mhm.
in that time. But I think it's definitely changed. I think all of this emphasis media, Hollywood has put on social injustice has had an effect on even church kids. And that's a good thing, to
Yeah.
care about those outside, those who aren't coming, those who are hurting and all that. So, but it takes time, but I think this definitely this latest group, that's what they care about by far.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is a cool thing.
So it's like when people bash millennials or Gen Z, it's not all true.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, they definitely care about the needs of hurting people more so than I would say my generation, and especially and definitely those older.
Hmm. So this next person, same category, used to go to their home church, and then now they go elsewhere. I left my home church because of the following. And this is actually a decent answer, I feel like. Ritualistic worship, singing just to sing, cliquish, no small groups, nothing to offer young adults slash college age, did not feel like everyone was all in, and then 5% of the church doing 100% of the work.
I mean, that's a real issue,
Yeah,
and that's very true. I
no
think
backstory required.
yeah, there is no backstory. I think it's a very observant person who thought, 5% of the people are doing the work, and that's typical,
Yeah,
in most churches. Um, and it'd be interesting to know which of those issues are the main issue. Is it the
yeah,
no small group? Is it the 5%? Is it the music? Is it the, cliquish? What is the main issue? But they're all big issues. I mean, especially facing the church as a whole now,
yeah,
because music is still the hottest topic in the church. Still the hottest topic in most churches that are not fresh plants, new plants in the past 10 years. But yeah, that's a big deal.
All right, here's the next one. Kind of along the same vein. Tired of feeling like we have to fit a mold that was cast 50 or 60 years ago. Lack of intentional community outreach outside of major events. Unwillingness to change to be more effective to reach younger families. For example, music, small groups, events for young adults and young families. No discipleship for older adults, willing or able to disciple young men and women. That's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Church politics, the way the church politics, I won't say anymore. It's set up more of a board in a corporation slash business rather than spiritual leadership. That is an episode we've talked about before called Service of the Church, called Deacons. We went to Act 6 and there was two characteristics that Tim points out. The Act 6 deacons should be preservers of unity and shock absorbers. And then we referenced the way that boards are in other churches, how they're more just like not even an overseer biblically, but they just run it like they would a business. Pretty much exactly like this person says. Okay. Feels like a country club. My question is, what are they doing to attract younger people? My only appeal for when I was there was my parents were there and the missions program.
Do we have any idea what the age of any of these people are?
Yes, 18 to 24. Like they said used to be in the youth group and then now
Okay.
they're somewhere else. So they're anywhere in like they're like the young adult age.
No older probably than 24 or 25 though.
I doubt it.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the interesting thing is what these people have observed in church life. You know,
Yeah.
obviously why they left, but they've picked up on some things that are issues. They are legit. It doesn't take much reading of Acts to realize that we're a pretty, big span away from the original intent of the church. Deacons, pastor, I mean, the whole gamut. So that's cool that somebody's picked up on that. They can see, hey, we're a long way from Acts. But I don't know. The thing is, and it's a constant struggle of church leadership and pastors is, okay, what do we do to remedy this? Because nobody can say, oh, this is not an issue. I mean, if you're losing even a small percentage of your youth group to another church, especially locally,
Hmm.
that's a huge deal. That can't continue.
Yeah.
That's not surviving.
Especially if
You
they're
can do it.
not going off to college and staying in the area.
That's right. It's one thing to lose them to college, they move to another state or whatever, but if they are in the area and have grown up in your church, anybody's church, my church, and they're not going there now, I mean, the why is something that we have to figure out. And it's also interesting to what percentage we are losing any local church, what percentage of my youth are graduating, staying in the area, and not coming to my church, any church. I have to look at that.
Mm-hmm.
So that matters.
Last person in this category. Though I felt incredibly welcomed and loved at my home church, I was really looking for a group around my age that I could connect with more than just on Sundays. I was looking for a community of friends that I could do church with, but grow as friends outside of church as well. While the people at my home church were amazing and I loved them, the types of friendships and connections I was looking for was something that I was missing. I can confirm that I did not leave because I was angry in any way at my home church or felt someone had wronged me.
Connection. And I think that's one of the things that probably spans every age bracket.
Yeah.
Everybody wants connection. Everybody wants a friend. I know George Barna, this was years ago, said that people who do not get connected after attending 3 to 6 weeks, they tend to not stay very long, so connection is huge.
All right, this is the next. I was thinking about the studies I don't know, they said it at that place I used to teach at, the church. Someone walks on campus and makes their mind up in the first 15 seconds or something like that. I don't know that we never go that into it, but some people do, I guess. But all right, okay. This category is people that grew up in the home church that still go there. Why they still go there? Let me see if that was it. Okay. Yeah. What keeps you to stay at your home church? I'd say a lot of it has to do with my family going there and regularly attending the Sunday school class that I am able to be involved in and events our Sunday school class does. I also enjoy being around a lot of the couples in another Sunday school class because we have become good friends and family over the years, but also because there are a lot of great women in there I look up to as a role model.
Connection. All of it. Family, friends, it's all connection.
Yeah.
So they're not there for the music. Or the pastor.
I guess not.
Or the building. It's the connection.
Yeah. They might stay for the music though.
Hopefully.
The main reason that I still attend is that our church preaches straight from the word. It's not watered down or a feel-good message. Other reasons include family, friends, staff, our church and community, missions, and location. I believe I am more traditional than most people my age. I tend to have older friends and people throughout my life, and you could say I probably do not fit the mold of the average 1996-year-old. So this was maybe an older young adult. So that person's probably 28.
And they're more traditional. So they don't fit the typical mold of that era.
And they say perhaps other churches are more appealing to my age group, and I'm content. Sorry, I just lost my spot. And I'm content with preaching from the word and fellowship as we know, since I've attended this church my whole life. If it helps, I attended another church in the area with a very good following and pastor that's relatively famous. During college, as I found, he preached from the word and kept it simple for me. Although his audience is predominantly 50 and below, with large percentage of college students, mostly due to the location of that church, I found that church is most relatable to my upbringing and less focused on feel-good environments compared to other churches in that area, while still being a new modern building infrastructure. So basically, they've been there, but they're content with where they are.
And there's still some connection. Family is how they got here. They didn't pick this particular church off the map and say, "Hey, I'm going to try that church." It was a family connection. Is how they got to that church.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's connection again.
And they stay.
And probably if it wasn't connection, I guess their family still attends that church, maybe, I guess.
Probably.
So I wonder if their family left, if they would stay.
Because
Is it that strong of
it sounds like they're that's kind of the age where you get like you're becoming your own, you know. I mean, I still don't feel like I have it all figured out or anything, but I feel like you're becoming your own person when you're
right? A little more stable.
Mhm. All right, next. Okay. I still attend my home church because I have thought all this time that something would open up for young adults in the age 18 to 29 range. I enjoy the pastor's preaching. I feel like many have left due to, okay, I feel like many have left due to the major focus on the older generation and being afraid to step on people's toes asking for attention. I know there's funding for the senior saints and planning, but not much focus towards the high schoolers who graduate and the college age who graduate. There wasn't really anywhere for us to go after youth, and many found their place in other churches that were familiar in the worship and teaching style that we experienced in middle school, high school, our camps, and another place. I know you shouldn't leave a church because of the music they play and whatnot, but I will say that if an individual feels more welcomed and moved through a certain type of worship and community, I can understand why they would stay at a different church. I think our generation has moved more in worship with upbeat music and less with traditional things. From that perspective, it doesn't really seem like there would be anywhere for someone in our age group to quote unquote fit in. With the ones who did leave, they also took their friends and invitations from new people with them. It's definitely created a gap over the past 10 years. I can also say that an unbeliever in the contemporary world would find a church like the hip church in town more appealing because its worship and teaching styles are up to date and familiar, quote unquote. And offer teaching styles, and offer opportunities for our age group. Whereas if I were to bring an unbeliever to my home church, it may seem old, traditional, and almost ritualistic compared to the majority of churches they've seen or heard out here.
So they're concerned about others being connected. Still connection. And they're obviously connected here at the church because of they don't want to leave.
I guess they said originally they said they felt all this time something would open up for the young adults.
So they're a person of hope, hoping it'll get better.
Yeah, and that's actually a decent reason to stay. I feel like you're not abandoning ship just
Yeah,
because
right.
you're not
Yeah, I
happy.
admire that. Yeah, just be a part of the change. I mean, it's easy to jump ship. It's easy to say, I'm going to go somewhere else who meets my needs. A little bit of need focus there, but um, to love your home church enough to stay and say, I'm going to hope for change, maybe be a part of it is very cool. But there's still a lot of, and there's comments about connection, but they seem to be more outwardly focused. They're concerned about other people, how they're going to get connected and become a part and all that. So that's good.
Next one is for me, I stay there because of the close-knit relationships I have with various people across the church. My Sunday school class is another big factor. I enjoy the teaching as well as the fellowship we have inside and outside of church. I also really enjoy the pastor's messages that he prepares.
Connection. The whole first part was connection.
Mm-hmm.
They're not staying because of the music. Whoever the music guy is, they're not staying because of that.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
I know.
So they're young.
They should come here.
So even though they're young, it's not about the music. It's
Yeah.
and I don't know that a study's ever been done, but I would love to know, even a church who is very ritualistic. I mean, the recitations and the hymn book and all that. But if they have a good program for getting people connected, I would love to know how those churches grow and retain.
What do you do to get connected?
You've got to provide the opportunity. But, I've been saying for especially several months in my own church now, part of this is on you. We have these small groups, these discipleship classes, these opportunities for you to come, but you have to show up and at least make an effort. And I mean, honestly, right now, probably our men's group is almost doing the best of getting new people there and connected. Pretty wild.
What do y'all do for your men's group?
We just eat and talk.
Wow.
The Bible is not opened.
Which for fellowship, I mean,
Yeah, right. Which is a part of the New Testament church, but it's like definitely there's connection going on there.
this is the next person. When I moved back to this area after college, I was considering going elsewhere, but mentally and socially did not have the bandwidth to learn about a new church and invest in new relationships. So that's why I initially stayed. I knew it would be a gospel preaching church and familiar people. Honestly, I didn't feel the most welcome, but I take partial responsibility because I have not done well pouring into the church, so it's hard to knock it when I'm not being receptive or seeking out community with others. Of people my age, I think a few reasons people leave is because they don't put in the effort to connect, but also there are cliques that make it difficult to feel welcome. I felt like a zebra for quite some time, being young and single but career oriented. I cannot relate to a lot of the young stay-at-home moms, and that's partly my fault for not giving them a chance, but I also haven't felt welcome to try with some. Though I also don't like the thoughts of a singles ministry. Let's see. Though I also don't like the thought of a singles ministry because it's rarely done well and feels more like matchmaking thing or the pitied group of the church. Young singles are treated differently than marrieds. One thing that I know some in our church do not handle gracefully is mental health issues, and it's something that I know have pushed some to plant roots elsewhere. Comments have been made to the effect of not being strong enough believers as the cause of their illness.
So they are concerned of the lack of connection on their part, even though they haven't really tried, but they still want it.
Mhm.
Connection is still their biggest seemingly issue. Is they want to be connected. And the click thing has been mentioned again.
Mhm.
And when you have several people seeing the click thing, maybe it is an issue. And I don't think it's intentional,
Yeah.
but it's like, I think we all like certain people more so than other people. That's true at work. It's true on the ball team. It's true in the church. You're not going to be best friends with everybody in your church. I think we have to be careful, though, to have our circles so tight that we can't, let somebody else in because we might really like them. But yeah, again, this person is wanting connection.
Yeah. Okay, this is the third category. So, survey who have left their home church and gone to other churches, but these people moved away. But if you still lived near your home church, would you go there? And there's only two of these. The second one's a little lengthier than the first one. Obviously, I don't attend anymore since I moved, but I would like to think that I would still go to my home church if I was in the area. My home church is like a second family to me, and every time I come home and visit, people are very welcoming and kind. I don't know if this would help with anything, but a few years after I graduated college, as a young adult, I did think about which Sunday school class I would go to if I was around and if I were there. I wasn't sure which one I would go to because of the wide age gaps in both the college and career and the another class name. Now I realize it doesn't matter as long as there is community, and I'd probably love being a part of the older class. I'm assuming because it's not college and career. But I know that intimidated me at the time, if that makes sense. So they thought about it. They could see themselves, I guess, in any class.
But they're concerned about connection. Who
Yeah.
would I connect with? Who would be my friend? What would I do? What would it be like? So it's connection. Pretty wild.
I feel like there's a theme.
Yeah, there's a thing. There's definitely a theme.
All right. Here's the second one. I don't know if it will be a surprise or not, but I have very strong feelings. Hold on, let me read this in advance just to see if that gets into some specific people at the church. So
they're not
someone who-
connected with those people.
Yeah, they're definitely not connected with those people.
So a connection was broken.
A connection issue was broken.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that was the survey that was done and we're in North Carolina. That's no surprise. I would say the greater Winston-Salem area.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's not like age changes. I mean, young people that are involved in some kind of church are looking for some kind of a connection.
Yeah. And that's not just, that's not just a young adult thing. I think that it crosses the generations. And I think, we talked about earlier, older people, why do they stay? And I think if they have gone to church with their current Sunday school class or the current people around them for very long, they are connected
Hmm.
and they don't want to lose that connection. So therefore they stay, even if it's, not their preference or whatever, but they feel very connected. So I don't know. It's pretty wild how
Yeah.
connection plays such a big role in it. And maybe it was that way in the beginning. Maybe the early church was actually connected to each other.
We did I forget what it was called, but we did some kind of episode, about talking about Acts in the early church where they would meet in people's houses. And to invite someone into your house,
There's
you have to be
connection.
connected.
Yeah.
And you also can't have 30 people at your house. I mean, so I mean, it's essentially a small group or Sunday school class, and we've made that distinction before that they're just kind of called different things.
Right. That's
Some
right.
some Sunday school classes are 40 to 50 people, which is arguably too big to be effective.
Yeah. As far as real connection,
Yeah.
it's a mini church. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in our church, we have some Sunday school classes that are like 40 to 50, which is great, but then when it's up for discussion, sometimes, I mean, I've just been a part of this too. I mean, if everyone gets to talking, there's always the one person that talks more than everyone else.
Right.
But if the teacher can barely get through his lesson without a comment from someone,
Yeah. It's just a miracle. But I think people talk. I think some of that maybe even be related to putting it out there. Maybe somebody will connect with that. I don't
yeah,
know. Yeah. But it's what everybody's hungry for. I mean, that's what everybody's wanting. Um, they're wanting that connection. And I know, even gangs, they say gangs, they pick these kids because they know they are hungry for somebody to care.
hmm.
It's a connection issue.
And I mean, most like all the horrible, murdery stuff that you can watch, like documentaries, and it's always someone who wants a connection in some type of way.
Right. And they tend to take out the person who was in the way of the connection, maybe,
Yeah,
So I don't know. I think it's wild though that all these people, what the over at least 90% of the overall theme has nothing to do with all the things we focus on. You know, um, we typically don't go to workshops on connection.
yeah,
It's about music leadership, discipleship, but not connection. And probably the reason we are losing based on this, the amount of people we are, is because they just never got connected. You know, it'd be interesting to know if they like if their best friend or whatever stayed was in this church, would they have stayed in spite of music or preference and teaching and all that? It sounds like they would have.
yeah, yeah. Because we've talked about some adults that go to your church that probably don't love 100% of the things about the church, but their kids might.
Oh yeah, because their kids are connected.
Yeah.
And as a parent, if I have to choose between my connection and their connection, I'm going to go with theirs.
And they've even like there's people now that they're called connect groups almost instead of so it's like a double, it's like not only is this what you want, but we're going to call it what you want too.
Yeah. And see if you fall for that mind game, whether you ever get connected or not.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm in a connect group, so I must be connected.
yeah, you must be connected. But I think, I know what you're saying, but I think most people, they know if they're connected or not. would you call these people? Can you count on these people? Do they really care? You know,
Mhm.
kind of thing. So, yeah, but I don't know. I think we're probably missing something as a church as a whole on just how important it is for people to genuinely be connected.
And I think the ability to get connected is in many ways part of the culture of the church.
Hmm.
So I think if you're, I mean, you can't just like blame younger people for, well, you just didn't try to get connected. I mean, then that goes into the, well, you're just not a good enough Christian to be connected here.
Right. And see, I think people as a whole, this younger group coming up who has been raised, with so much social media and with all the tablets and all that, studies have already shown they're going to struggle to be connected. They're going to be socially inept in a lot of areas because they've never had to do it. And so the church having to work with that, it's already hard. And then you have kids who have trouble generally getting connected, having real conversations because of their brains have been warped with all the
Hmm.
social media. And it's going to be harder. And so it's definitely going to be something the church is going to have to take up and focus on, like, are our people getting connected? I know even people who are attending our church, it'd be interesting to know how many of them feel like I'm really connected to these people.
You can do like a survey and tell them to put it in the,
Yeah, it may be lower than we think.
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I didn't read all that because I read it before I read it to you and I didn't, the connection thing is a cool word to, I guess, sum it all up. I was kind of reading it from the perspective of like, the things that I'm involved with, and sometimes it mentioned music, and I related to that. I
How
think,
many
but
times did it mention music? Do you know?
I feel like 3 or 4 times,
Three. And the preaching, teaching 2 or 3 times
a
probably
few
too as
times,
well.
yeah.
Yeah. But I wonder though if even if they do or don't like the style, if they were connected, the odds of them staying are probably pretty high. Probably. I mean, if I'm very connected and I feel secure, would I leave just because I wanted a different type of sermon or
Hmm.
music? I mean, would my music preference cause me to leave if I was extremely connected to my church?
Yeah,
I'm not sure I would. I think I could endure the 20 minutes of traditional
contemporary.
music or contemporary. Yeah, I could endure the contemporary if it meant, gosh, I'm connected to these people. I'm not going to leave. I'll be,
I mean, I would say I feel connected where I'm at, and I endure the traditional music
yeah,
for
yeah,
the people. I mean, people like it, so that's why I do it. If I could choose, it wouldn't be biblical if I could choose and do my way, but it'd be great if that's my preference. But in many ways, I think God gives me the want to be connected with the people, but that's why I do the traditional music because it's part of my philosophy of which it was
it's
nice.
not about you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which it was nice when you know, we did things a little bit differently when at,
Yeah.
at your church. But we still did hymns.
Yeah, we did.
And I stopped doing hymns for a while because people complained they didn't real so have I told you this? Maybe not. This is just maybe some so when the last guy left and then you came on, I was doing exactly 50-50. And we would do two hymns and two contemporary songs. And then you said something. It was just not, you weren't telling me to do more hymns, but maybe you like mentioned someone complained about a hymn or something. And I'm like, well, we do two hymns every week. And then you were like, well, something to the effect of like, well, if people are complaining that there's no hymns and you're doing hymns, then just do only contemporary songs.
Yeah. I mean, I think people just get sidetracked. I have never really thought music was the real issue. I think it's something to blame
Yeah.
The real issue is we humans typically don't like change at all. It's risky,
Hmm.
we don't like it. And we feel like it's messing up our security, our ownership. This is being taken away from me. Um, but I have often wondered, that's just a symptom of another issue. And the same with the preaching, everybody has their preferences on that and style of worship and specials and choir and all that. But
Hmm.
it's a personal preference. But I think, and I think maybe one of the reasons I have not had to fight that battle at this church is because I think the people, at least there's a bulk of them, they are connected. And it was that way when I got there. I remember that handshaking time went on forever.
Yeah.
Um, but there was genuine connection. They genuinely cared. They genuinely would talk to people or wanted to talk to people. So I don't know. I think if you're secure in your base or your connection, maybe these things aren't as big a deal. And maybe we could have avoided a lot of church issues if we just got people connected.
Okay, so one thing I went to Alabama and then I came back, I felt like 80% of the people were different. Did you observe that much of a turnover or like I guess it's not a turnover, but just new people coming in and old people going out in that like year and a half?
Yeah. I mean, I know some people left when I came, um, but I think, and yeah, again, a lot of our growth, I can't remember what we said last time or not, but a lot of our growth happened with the youth. The
Hmm.
youth got connected. They were connected with each other. And I think the parent was like, oh my gosh, my kid is connected here. Um, and so I'm going to be there to make sure they're okay and it's not a cult and all that.
Hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, but again, really, it goes back to connection with them. And then the parents, some of them have gotten really connected. But if you can ever develop a reputation of we have authentic relationships here,
Hmm.
people will flock to that. I mean, 'cause that's what they want in spite of
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
I feel
But it's
like I
definitely
just
something to ask every church probably should be asking. I think I'll think more on this actually, but what percentage of my people are connected,
yeah.
really connected? And the people, and see, even just thinking now, the people that I know have left, even the past several years, they never got connected, for whatever reason. It really wasn't ultimately, it wasn't because, oh, you don't have this program or that or music. It was, they never had a friend. It's like, so I'm going to try somewhere else.
I know the person that said that they put an effort into getting connected to because I remember when we were in Alabama, we didn't really feel connected.
Connected.
And there were like, maybe there were people our age, but I think it's just weird to kind of go into a church that's kind of, I mean, it's kind of like this one. It's been around for a while. There might have been people our age and, they're friendly with them, but I don't know. And it was a weird time for us too, because we're coming into the first year of our marriage, having just changed jobs and states, and we're ex expecting then pregnant with a baby. So, our ability to be connected was pretty limited. And
So how much effort do you think you made
down there,
on the connection?
um, I don't know, percentage wise. I mean, I feel like
Scale of 1 to 10, like a 2, probably like a
uh
2 or an 8.
are actually trying, setting things up with other people, probably like a 2 or a 3. But we're also getting to know each other. And I mean, we're just like newly married. We're still
So you are
trying
still
to,
trying to connect
yeah, I mean, we're trying to
as
get
married.
connected with each other, like
Yeah.
the first,
And then to get ready to connect with a third person real
yeah,
soon.
because we took that job and Morgan was like, well, I don't know, yeah, 3 months pregnant. I mean, where she knew she was pregnant. So it was a
So
very
that's a
weird
little different.
situation.
Yeah, that's a little different. But it's hard to know what was really on them. Because I think some churches can have their circle so tight. Not intentionally. I don't think it's intentional. Because
Yeah.
every church would say, well, do you want new people? Most would say, yeah, we would like to see some young families or youth or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think they don't realize that maybe they've made it so tight, hard to get in, that they may be turning people off. Not intentional. But
I'm
so maybe we need connection pastors more than we need anything.
Oh, this would be a good question for you because it's funny you say that. Tim asked me a question that one of his pastor's classes, they asked, what are the first three pastors you hire?
I think pastors want to hire probably music because I've told you, if the music is bad, I have a hard time. I can't make up for it. I can't go back and cover up 20 minutes of mess and then them doing a remotely half good job. But I'm not sure that's biblical. But I think because I guess there's ego, probably some ego in there. We want to do well. We want the presentation to be to go well and all that. And if we've just had to endure 20 minutes of horror, it's hard to do that. But biblically, I don't know. And then we do youth, we tend to do it probably youth and music up there at the top. And then if there's any money left, children,
If there's any money left.
yeah, that kind of thing. But I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know. I may try this, like next new family who comes, all the energy and getting you connected, with somebody who may be in your realm of, that you would like
Mm-hmm.
and just see. And I'm not sure. I think all those things are good. I mean, worship is biblical, and all that is biblical. But I'm not sure it's currently what draws people to church in this year.
Yeah, I feel like 10 years ago when it was pretty radical.
Yeah, right. That's right. It was new, it was fresh, and I'm trying to think of a new church plant that I know of in the past like 2 or 3 years. I can't even think of one that didn't survive, but I know when some of the bigger ones in our state were started, a bold, big praise band was huge. It was the thing that did it. I'm not sure that's still the case, would be the case if some of these same churches were started now, if they could sell themselves on, hey, we got a great music program.
Yeah. Our pastor now says there's where people are wanting almost something more traditional. Because I think there was this swing of big contemporary churches, but he said there's some kind of study where a lot of people are kind of flocking to smaller, not country churches, but smaller, kind of more orderly, older, blended.
But see, the culture who has grown up in the youth camp era and the youth camp music, this is not new to them anymore. This is old. This is their tradition. And so I know the big church in Charlotte, they now have an organ on their stage, that you can hear, and it's like, I think the pendulum, I'm not sure it's going to swing back to completely.
Yeah.
But I think everybody always likes what's new, what they deem as new. And so I think there is definitely some truth to that I think, and I think the reason, as far as the number of new mega churches in our country, they're starting to shrink. Okay. Churches under, I think it's 500, have almost been dying for 20 or 30 years. But now their numbers are starting to go back up. And I don't know, but I bet it's connection. It's easier to connect in that environment. I walk into a church with 5,000 people, and it's really ultimately an introvert that it's not cool with me ultimately, So, it would definitely, if connection is really what it's about, and time will tell, I would think it would be, unless you have a really dynamic coordinator, connection pastor, whatever, it would be easier to connect probably in a smaller church, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think in any size church, you have to be aware, but some of the negative that I heard about the churches in Charlotte and then New York, that one, was huge services, and they would have to rent out this. I guess it's an amphitheater or something for whatever they did theirs in. I don't think it was an arena. Maybe it was a small. I don't know.
I can't
That one
remember.
up there.
Yeah.
But volunteer burnout, where they were like exhausting the volunteers.
Mhm.
And I mean, to get something going like that, I don't know. I don't even know if they were paying the volunteers or what the deal was, but I mean, certainly you're doing a lot. And I can see the production behind all of it. You really need connection to get it going. But then,
Yeah.
once you're just you're just a number every week. And
Right.
we went to another church, not quite like that big, but another one in our area that you would know the name of, where they have like 4 campuses, and then you walk in and people are really nice when you drop off your kids. That
Right.
situation was, you didn't feel like weird or anything, but as far as people in the auditorium, I mean, you might like say hi to someone walking in that greets you, but then you say bye to them on your way out, and that's
Yeah,
all.
that's it.
Yeah, there's not that.
No lunch after church.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It'd be interesting to see what would happen if somebody started a church. Very limited music. The emphasis not on the pastor. Very small group, but very connected, as in they do life together. What would happen to that group? What would happen? Probably like they did it in Acts. Probably.
yeah,
It would be very wild. We do all of this, and it turns out what they did in Acts actually works.
I know. Imagine that.
I mean, if this Bible turns out to be true, wow. That changes everything.
Well, any other last thoughts on connection? I think I'm good.
I think I'm good.
All right. Well, this has been Why People Leave Church, this episode of the Not Good Podcast. I'm your host, David Jane, joined by Mickey Bryles. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all of the platforms that you're listening on. We have video on Spotify. Everything else is audio. Check out our merch. That link's in the description. If you haven't yet, make the bell go ding ding. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Catch y'all next one. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Not Good Podcast. Contact your host, David Jane, at davidj@skyhighmediallc.com.